that session today, as well as posting this in our community center for future reference. So today's agenda, we're going to have our ServiceNow overview, and then we're going to jump into our cloud management demo and wrap up with some Q&A at the end. But if you haven't noticed yet, everyone on the call is on mute. But if there are any questions, you can use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We'll be monitoring the Q&A chat where we'll be able to answer those questions. So let's go ahead and get started. What is ServiceNow? So simply put, ServiceNow is a workflow automation platform designed to host applications. Within the platform itself, we have different capabilities that are built in, meant for utilization by those applications that sit on top of the platform. So we have things like workflow and integrations, which if you're looking to automate your processes, you can automate them into workflows that route effectively across an entire enterprise. We have our configuration management database, which is really the core foundation of the Now platform, allowing for our 3 workflows, which you'll see shortly, to provide that interoperability they need. We also have our knowledge base and service catalog. So that knowledge base is for that end user support on information they may be looking for. The service catalog is to provide information on products your organization or enterprise has to offer them. And this is really all, fueled by our machine learning, AI, and analytics that enhances those capabilities. We have our web, mobile, and conversational tools that we'll talk about shortly. And we do have our developer tools. While we are a low-code, no-code platform, we do use JavaScript and integrations as the industry standard stands today. So as I discussed, we have 3 different workflows. We have our IT, employee, and customer workflows. Now, within each of those workflows are different capabilities, or different, sorry about that. Within each of these workflows are different portfolio offerings. And within those portfolio offerings are different applications. Those applications are able to utilize the capabilities the platform has to offer. So between these 3 workflows, there are over 50 different applications. Prepackaged, ready for consumption, right out of the box. Our IT workflow is meant to help manage and allocate resources and track performance, and that's where we will be talking about ITOM and cloud management today. We also have our employee workflow, which enables that single endpoint for your internal users to have the ability to manage their work needs. And then we have our customer workflow, which is meant for those external facing clients that an organization has, because we do recognize not everything is going to be coming from internal users and not everything is going to be related to IT. So while we do have over 50 different applications, we also have our app engine, which allows you to create applications using little to no code. So possibilities with the Now platform and their applications are endless. But that all goes to say, what's all this without great experiences? So we provide our mobile capabilities like text messages for notifications, and our now mobile app where you're able to access these workflows. And we are a web-based platform, so there's no need for downloading or installation of anything on your device. And we have our conversational tools available on the platform because we're breaking silos and routing work effectively through an enterprise at ServiceNow. So we need to be able to converse across the platform. But that is all to say, we are a systems of record. So we do recognize at ServiceNow that there are other third-party applications and systems that your enterprise may utilize. So we look to communicate with these different applications and integrate them onto the platform. And you might think, well, why? But we don't want to change how your business works. We just want to change how your business is connected. So by integrating these third-party systems and applications into the platform, you're really enabling your enterprise to have all of your data, your applications, and your infrastructure in one single place. Now, with that, and as I said, we will be in the IT workflow today in ITOM discussing cloud management. John, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you. But once again, if you all have any questions, please do not hesitate to use that Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen.
Thank you. Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you again for joining us today. My name is John Insko, and I'm an IT Operations Management Specialist here on the federal team at ServiceNow. IT operations teams are struggling to provide the business and mission critical services that they always have, while also dealing with greater complexity and hybrid network designs. And providing those services has become harder than before because of changing requirements and tighter budgets and multiple tool sets that they use across different cloud service providers. And there are three challenges we'll talk about today that have the largest and most immediate impact. The first is exposure due to poor visibility. And this is where operations teams are seeing massive growth in data and in resources being used across their networks and are struggling with managing multiple technology stacks across hybrid designs. And too often there are multiple siloed tools to manage those products and services, but they provide little or no understanding of how those resources provide the business and mission critical applications. The second problem is service degradation. When IT services have degraded performance or an outage, the organization's ability to meet their business and mission objectives is affected until those apps and services can be restored. But without a unified tool set, it's much harder to do. And then lastly, we have limited budgets and additional governance constraints that have made it more difficult to meet objectives. It's very easy to add cloud services, especially with self-provisioning tools, but when those go unchecked, it isn't very easy to manage them, which then drives unplanned costs and can violate management or governance requirements. And so organizations don't know if cloud resources are sized correctly once they're initially provisioned, and then whether or not software is still needed weeks or months after it was licensed. So operations teams are having a hard time with monitoring and optimizing spending, especially with manual tools like reports and spreadsheets. And some of them are feeling overburdened with requirements related to results. So in our demo today, we're going to talk about three areas that ServiceNow can help you to overcome these challenges. The first is with self-service and management of cloud resources, which we'll see in our cloud user portal. The next is how to drive cloud costs into a controllable way with our Cloud Insights portal. And then policy and tagging compliance methods that we'll talk about inside our Cloud Admin portal. And I'm going to switch sharing over to my demo. I'll be right back with you. Okay, welcome to the Cloud User Portal. And this is similar to the ServiceNow User Portal that you may have seen in the past, where access to this is granted based upon either group membership or individual roles, similar to role-based access control. And from here at a glance, a user can see all of the cloud resources across different cloud service providers that they have access to. Now, unfortunately, this demo is not connected to live data, so much of what we're going to see is Amazon data. A couple of things are missing, but we'll talk through those anyway. To begin with, current monthly spend, this would normally be populated with what the current spend is related to this particular user, and I'm logged in as a person called John Depot today. In addition to the budget down here that John or his group would be subjected to. Next would be quota. Over here, you can see that we have virtual CPU count, virtual machines, network, and storage volume size, just to name a few. And those are quotas that can be configured either for the group that John belongs to or John as an individual or both. And we'll look at that in more detail later. There are three permissions levels that allow you to see items in the portal: cloud administrators, cloud operators, and cloud users, which allows you more granularity across each of your cloud service providers from one pane of glass. In addition to quotas, we see recent stacks, which are the stacks of resources that were deployed by, again, this group or this user most recently. And again, this is across all cloud service providers. So if you're involved with, let's say, Amazon and Azure at the same time, you have one pane of glass to manage everything from. And then Stack Health here, we can see at a glance that this ACE SD LAMP stack has a problem. Well, we can click on it directly here to go take a look and see if there's anything we can do to remediate that. On the left, we see all of the resources that make up that particular stack. And we can see that this storage volume here has been terminated. In the middle, we can see quickly who owns the account here, ACE Cloud, which provider and data center this resides in, and then some information about the business service that is being affected. If there were change requests, incidents, cloud events, or tasks that were related to either this configuration item, the storage volume, or the entire stack, we would see them here. In this case, because this has been terminated, I already know that this is a scheduled operations consideration. And what we can see at a glance is that the lease period for this particular item was reached, and then it went immediately into a deprovisioning status. Well, that would be great if that's what we wanted and if that's what we configured by policy. But what this actually tells us is two things: that either this particular storage volume or all storage volumes need to have their policies looked at to make sure that they're in alignment and that nothing deprovisions that is not in accordance with the rest of the items in the stack. And from this view as well, you can click on View Dependency, which shows the CMDB discovery view of this particular application. So down here in the right is the particular storage volume that has been deprovisioned. And at a quick glance, you can see the virtual machine it connects to and the data center that it resides in. Now, from the user catalog, you can also do provisioning of cloud resources. And so each of these items here are the ones that have been configured from either CloudFormation templates or Azure ARM templates. And these are also the ones that are in the service catalog that my particular group or my particular user are allowed to see. From here, you can launch the stacks that you're authorized to do so. And we'll take a quick look at this Amazon EC2 instance to see what kinds of things can be controlled by policy for the sake of cost control and governance. To begin with, since it knows who I am and what group I'm in, it knows, it knows the cloud account that I am authorized to use. It knows the data center that I'm authorized to use, and it provisions a temporary name which I can change. I also have the ability to put it in one or more groups that I have access to, and I can give it a scheduling profile, which we'll talk about later in the admin console for things like either AlwaysOn 24/7 support or 8 to 5 weekdays, which you might call a business hour provisioning policy. And then lease end date, and of course, time zone based upon where you're going to put it. From the stacks link, we can take a look at things that are already provisioned, all stacks, stacks with issues, and those that were discovered from the IT Operations Management Cloud Discovery process. Under resources, we can see everything that has been provisioned individually by category, for instance, compute, load balancing, network, and storage, just to name a few. And again, this goes across multiple service providers, so you can view all of your cloud resource provisioning and management from one location. I'm going to switch over to the Cloud Insights portal now to talk a little bit about how we gain visibility into cost control and management of our cloud resources. So from this Cloud Insights dashboard, we can select which provider we would like to look at, or we can look at all. And the first thing we're presented with is our cloud spend analytics number. So in the last 30 days, we've had $5,800 in spend. And by clicking here, we can see some additional metrics that were provided to us by our cloud service providers like Amazon and Azure. In here, we see the donut shape representing that $5,800 number we just looked at, broken up by category. So compute is blue, storage in green, database, load balancing, and network. We can break this down by provider, master service account, application service account, region, service category, and date range. So as an example, if I wanted to look at the order status application, I have two choices, and I can select the one for Amazon. And if I wanted to look specifically at compute, I could also choose that here, and it will drill down and present it to me that way. The next section in Cloud Insights is called right sizing. And this is where both the cloud service providers and ServiceNow make a recommendation on cloud resources that could be changed to help you save money. So at a glance, we have top recommendations here, which shows us the configuration item, the current size of the machine image it's using, the recommended machine size, and a monthly savings calculation here. As we scroll down, we can see that by changing these 14 resources, we could expect to save $3,649. And if we wanted to look at all proposed resources, we can click here, and then we can sort them by their confidence level, which is low to high. If we wanted to look at just the medium items, we can filter again and see exactly what's available, what applications they're related to, and what the savings amount is here that we might reclaim by changing them. At the top here, we see new recommendations, those that are scheduled, those that have been declined, completed, failed, and then those that might be excluded. Again, all tools that we would like to use across multiple cloud service providers so that we can get a better handle on what's happening within our cloud service provisioning. Business hours is the next category, and this is what tells us about the policies that we looked at earlier with regard to either 24-hour a day service or perhaps an 8 to 5 business service. And again, it gives us top 5 recommendations for what we could change and the monthly savings that are related. Now, if we add these 5 up, we only see $100 in change. But if we scroll down here, we can see that there are 82 resources that are scheduled with an estimated savings of over $1,600, which is really some fantastic information to be able to manage from. Further down the Cloud Insight dashboard, we see unassigned resources. And we see that there are 200 that don't have a group or individual ownership. And we can click into those the same way we did others and make those assignments. Also, unused machines, resources out there that are not being used that we're paying for. Thankfully, there are none. And then Insight owners, these are people that have access to this dashboard. Next, I'm going to move over to the Cloud Admin portal and talk about how we set up and configure some of these things. The first view here is the overview, which allows you to see all of the cloud components that you're managing: cloud accounts, resource profiles, compute and storage volume capacity, catalog items like we looked at earlier, resource blocks, which are things like CloudFormation and ARM templates, Cloud API connectivity and scripts, and then governance policies, permissions, and again, quotas like we saw earlier. Speaking of quotas, on the left here, under the govern section, is where those can be configured and managed. And we saw earlier on the Cloud User Portal that there were 4 different quotas on the dashboard. If we look at the configuration here, we can see them listed by group. And I'm going to filter on cloud engineers. In this case, cloud engineers are allowed to use 100 virtual CPUs and 10 per person. And if it was decided that we needed to increase that, we can do it right from here. And so if you find that you have constraints with resources, they can always be changed very quickly here, which again would go across multiple providers. Under budget, we can see that there's a monthly allowance of $1,000 for each of the groups to spend, and then that is controlled down to $100 per person here. And again, by clicking on these configuration policies, they can be changed very quickly. Resource profiles relate back to what we saw with the AlwaysOn 24/7 or 8x5 business hour profile, but they span across more than just that configuration. These profiles allow you to set specific configurations for when new cloud resources are designed across applications, compute, security groups, operating systems, and again, schedule. And this is where we will see the AlwaysOn or the 8 to 5, and these can be changed from this interface, or new ones can be added to match what the changing needs are for your cloud environment as time goes by. Under design, we have our cloud catalog items. And this represents the items that we saw in the cloud user portal. If we go to this EC2 instance that we looked at a moment ago, we can see how this was configured, which was from a cloud formation template and a blueprint for EC2 instance. It's designed to provision. And as we scroll down, we can see the template that's involved, which is specifically for WordPress. Blueprints determine the resource blocks, as they're called, which are the things that are included when an item is provisioned, which includes connections, attributes, and software versions. Next, under governance, we have billing, which is where we bring in billing information from all of our service providers, which allows us to do a couple of things, one of which is to create the recommendations in the Insight portal for how we can spend less money and how we can also re-provision instances that have too much compute. In this case, we just have the one policy for Amazon, and we can see at a glance that it's designed to run daily at 2 o'clock in the morning. Current status is finished, but we can see here there's an error. It was unable to connect. So in a production environment, we would want to fix this very quickly. And then as we scroll down below, we can see log file information to tell us a little bit more about where that error condition may lie. Tagging is an important feature that customers want to use, and tags come from the service providers like Amazon and Azure when resources are provisioned there. From this interface, you can see very quickly the types of tags that are being used, broken down by stack. And you can change that to look for different types of tagging. For instance, business service or stacks themselves. This is a list of all of the tags that we have for this particular instance. And again, these are imported from cloud service providers based upon the tagging that is done there. And there are also unique tags that you can create for needs within ServiceNow, which you'll see listed here. Tags allow you to track resources in several ways, things like ownership, cost management, business service and application relationships, audit and compliance, and monitoring account or subscription usage. And cloud management provides some default tags, which are application, cost center, project, service, and username. And Shawnee, at this point, I'm going to hand it back over to you for any question and answer that we can help our attendees with.
Awesome. Yeah. So currently it doesn't look like we have any questions coming through. So for our attendees, if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to enter them in the Q&A feature. John, is there anything else that you would like to show related to cloud management or?
I think at this point we're done because unfortunately the demo that we have doesn't have more granular detail that we could get into. But I see that we've been joined by Christian, who is an architect on my team that might be able to go into some additional detail and is also available for any questions that we have.
I am available. Hello.
Hi, Christian.
How are you? I actually deployed this as a customer, so I have experience going all the way back. As I always say, I have the cuts and bruises to show for it. It was. I'm always jealous of our new customers because they get to do it in all these new features and everything's automated now. I had to do it the hard way back in the day. You don't want to hear about all those trials and tribulations.
Yeah,
Christian, is there anything that you think that we should cover? Anything that is critical to Fed with regard to cloud management?
We worked really hard when I showed up. We worked very hard to educate ServiceNow around the different cloud environments for federal. So AWS commercial versus GovCloud versus other environments. Same thing for Azure and Microsoft Azure for government. And so we worked very closely with developers to make sure that our products now are tested in those different environments, and they are. So I think that's been really good. So I would expect as a federal customer to be able to deploy this with your cloud providers, just as our commercial customers would. So that's one area. And the other thing is that in the federal space, we see the same thing that we do in the enterprise space, which is that a lot of people think cloud, so they think cloud management, but I see federal making the same mistakes that enterprise did, which is sometimes a step forward and 2 steps back, move it to the cloud, and then lose some functionality. So it's important to think not just about cloud management, but that entire view of, do I have visibility of what's being spun up in the cloud, whether or not it's being provisioned through ServiceNow? Do I still have that full visibility? And our ITOM visibility suite is cloud tested and able to be do those cloud discoveries and able to discover the software installed and the applications running in your C2 instances. We have patterns now for Lambda. We build dependencies between Lambda and API gateways, for example. So a lot of great support there. And then from our health perspective as well. If I move something to the cloud, I'm still responsible for the health of the service, still responsible for the health of the EC2 server. The only thing that I've given up is that the cloud provider is responsible for the hardware that it runs on. So it's also important to consider our ITOM health applications like event management, and that has built-in connectors for CloudWatch, that has built-in connectors for Azure metrics and events. So you can bring those in and aggregate that with other monitoring that you probably have in place already, even as you've moved to the cloud. So I think that's probably what I would add, is that it's a more holistic view, and between visibility, health, and what you've seen today, what John's shown around optimization, sort of gives you that entire cloud management picture.
Awesome. Thanks, Christian, for that. I don't know if John or Christian, you have any other thoughts regarding cloud management, but I will say this session has been recorded. And, at this point, we do not have any Q&A. So we can stick around for the next, couple minutes if there's any dialogue attendees want to have with us just regarding cloud management. But next week, we will be holding our Community Tech Talk number 7 on Thursday, July 16th, where we discuss customer service management. So with that, we can hang tight for attendees for a little bit. If you all have any questions that you want to ask us. And thank you so much for attending today's session. Hey, John, so it looks like we have a question. Is cloud management integrated with other parts of the ServiceNow platform?
Well, it is, because cloud management is just a component of the IT operations suite of products. And every product set on the platform is part and parcel of the platform. So it's not like you add or connect anything per se. It's just a matter of turning it on through licensing, like all of our other products.
Awesome, thanks for that. John, do you think in terms of like cloud management, do you want to list off any, a couple of positives about what it has to offer?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I mean, you could just list a couple, but I think it'd be, a good dialogue to have to talk about those positive features that cloud management really provides.
I think that's a great question. So let's start with the biggest thing, which is that this gives you a single tool to provision, manage, maintain, and control costs of all cloud resources across every provider that you have. So we talked about Amazon and Azure, which is what this demo is designed to look connected to. But we connect into Google, we connect into IBM, we can connect into any hybrid or on-prem type cloud system to give you the same three tools that we looked at today as a single pane of glass for all of those powerful configuration and management options. And the other way to do this without the ServiceNow platform would be to go to those individual providers, let's say Amazon, Azure, and Google separately, and use all of their tool sets separately, which means that an operations staff could have to learn 6, 9, 12 different tools to manage the things that they want to do versus using the ServiceNow platform and learning how to use one tool.
Fantastic. Yeah, that is awesome to think about in terms of the ServiceNow platform and really what cloud management provides and that integration point that the platform has.
It is. And if you think about that just a step further, think about individuals that spend their entire day trying to wrestle with data and turn it into information across multiple cloud sources. Whereas when it's integrated into the ServiceNow platform, it's already ready already. It simply just gets displayed in the way that you need it to. And then you get to integrate all the familiar tools that you would use, like CloudFormation templates, ARM templates, and things like that. And as I mentioned earlier, when you're doing cost recommendations for right sizing machine images, that information comes from Amazon and Azure. So you don't have to do anything extra. It's literally already coming to you. and it's brought into the platform as a part of our IT operations management discovery process for cloud. And so it's kind of like an extra bonus that not only do you know what your spending is, but we're taking those recommendations from the cloud service providers and then optimizing and presenting that to you for the sake of being able to manage that spend every month.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You always hear, from those cloud providers, how easy it is to see those cost savings. But here, in ServiceNow with the cloud management application, you're really able to actually visualize those cost savings and see what it can do for you in terms of the platform. So John, once again, thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions right now? All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and we can close out this session, but once again, any questions, anything like that we have regarding cloud management, you all can refer still to this recording as well. And next Thursday, July 16th, customer service management is happening. So really looking forward to that. And I just want to thank everyone for their time today.